The Brown Park Podcast is brought to you by Grow Clinics. You can go to growclinics.com.au/Brown Park to book a free consultation or for more information. Hello.
G'day, mates.
Today we are talking about jail and what it's like to be inside jail and how the jail system sort of messed up with this one guy.
It really shines a light on what rehabilitation could look like and what rehabilitation looked like, especially 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's all coming up today on the Brown Park Podcast.
The Brown Park Podcast.
Question.
Yes.
How do you think you'd go if you ever went to jail?
Oh, I would be a meat puppet.
A meat puppet? A meat puppet.
Sorry, I can't think of any other way to put it. I would be useless. I'd be completely useless. I'd want to know what it would take for me to get in there because,
yeah, this is.
I generally try to be a law-abiding, decent human being. But you know, accidents can happen. So I would like to think that I don't honestly know. I know somebody that has been to jail.
Oh yeah.
And very low security, but went in there and somebody had basically said to them, when you first walk in, pick on the biggest guy you can find.
See, I don't even know if that's a. I don't
agree with that
approaching it, but I remember in one of the other episodes we spoke about your general personality, where you you avoid confrontation, you sort of pull back in certain situations.
Right.
Jail would be, jail's anyone's worst nightmare, but I think jail for you, I think potentially you would be that said meat puppet.
The Brown Park Podcast.
Russell Manser is our guest today, and he's spent a significant amount of his life behind bars, and he's trying to rehabilitate others so that they don't get failed or missed by the system.
He's trying to turn his journey through the correctional system into something positive now because it was so bad for him throughout his years in and out of prison.
Yeah, and we've got him with us today. Hello, Russell. How you going, man?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm a really big fan. I've been doing a bit of research and loving what you guys are doing.
Thank you very much, sir. I noticed you're in San Francisco. Why are you in San Francisco?
Oh, I think it's a song, isn't it? There's flowers in my hair, but I haven't got no hair, so...
Yeah. For those that are listening to the show, Russell's got a virtual background of San Francisco. And we're like, oh, what are you doing? And then realised that it was the fake background.
He doesn't know how to change it.
The most untech savvy, that is a good jag. I tell you guys, I jag something for once in my life with technology, and that was the first jag I've ever done.
Too good.
Now, mate, look, you have a very, very interesting story that ultimately has been tragic, but has led to your path where you are now, where you are helping out a lot of people with what's happened in your life. And I know you've talked about this before, but to listeners of this show, I'd like to go right back in the Russell Manser story and have you talk about your life and what you've been through.
Sure, guys. I've done about a pleasure to do that and share it with your listeners. Look, I'm the youngest son of English immigrants, 10-pound poms, as it were. I'm the youngest of 6, 5 boys and 1 girl. My parents immigrated in 1965 from Liverpool, England. I had 3 brothers and a sister born in Liverpool, England, and me and my brother born in Liverpool, Australia. So that maybe could be a first. I don't know.
Well, there you go.
But anyway, so we grew up in a housing commission area, the western suburbs of Sydney, called Mount Druitt, at the end of the earth, but you can see it from there, so they say.
Yeah. No, well, right now.
Yeah, and you know what? And they're just working class people on fibro houses that were just stinking hot in the summer and freezing cold in the winter. And asbestos was like something we breathed in. You know, it was part of our
DNA.
Part of our ecosystem back then. But look, and you know what? They were just bad with it. And we were growing up to aspire to be a factory worker or a tradesman at best. And tradesmen were sort of on the money that they're on these days, you know, they're on par with doctor money and that sort of thing. So, you aspired to get a trade. You left school in year 10, you went off and got a trade, and you lived happily ever after. You bought a house, in the next suburb across, and you had 3 or 4 kids, and that wasn't my dream. It wasn't my dream. I just seen that there was a lot of struggle in that. My parents took 3 years to pay off a Datsun 180B.
Well, yeah.
And so, I used to see the factory workers up the bus stop of the morning and looking miserable, and they'd be coming home in the afternoon when it's going to work when it's dark, coming home when it's dark, and they just look miserable, and then, the crims would come home from jail, like getting treated like return war heroes and fit and healthy, and within a couple of weeks of being home from prison driving, at the car at the time was an SLR 5000 or a GDR XU1 or a GT Falcon, and they'd have it all, and they're wearing the good clothes and living large and looking like they had that lifestyle that I aspired to. I looked fast, it looked exciting, it looked dangerous, and that's what I wanted to be. I can remember a bloke driving past my house, and I drove past in a Mercedes-Benz SL 450, the 2-door 450, and I said to my dad, I want to be like them. And my dad said, they're drug dealers. I said, well, I want to be a fucking drug dealer. I said, that was all like fun. I was like 12 years old. My dad, filthy. I could just see the disappointment in his eyes. I can relive it and see the disappointment in his eyes, and he just shook his head in disgust. I would say, yeah, well, because they were just such law-abiding citizens in my family. I don't have that intergenerational transference of drug and alcohol problems, or, I'm not like a second-generation criminal. I come from a pretty respectable family, but, and I was held back on it, and the other blokes, the other boys had come around and stolen cars, and that looked like fun, and me going to school didn't look like fun, and I was recalcitrant, and I hated school, and I bucked the system, and I started to get into trouble, which led me to stealing a car in Parramatta and getting in a chase the first time I ever drove one, because I didn't know how to drive a car, and getting arrested. And back then they didn't have the diversion programs that they have today. They give kids like 20 or 30 chances before they actually lock them up. Back then it was, you got pinched, you got locked up, and you were taught a lesson. And but unfortunately, I was sent to the notorious Darrick Boys Home, which was the subject of a 16-minute story because of the prolific sexual and physical abuse that was taking part in that place,
So was this just because you stole one car?
And it was your first car? The first car you ever stole, you got caught?
First offence, yeah, and first offence. And I went to I remember it was a HT 3-speed ute on, and...
3 on the tree?
Yeah, 3. No, this one was like 3 on the floor, but it was,
okay, right.
It was like reversed. And I didn't know how to drive it, and I crashed it, and no one got hurt. But in saying that, and that was just... That was the way they did things back then. That was all about deterrent sentencing, and she sentenced me, and she said, I'm going to sentence you to 6 months, and it'll be a deterrent sentence, deter you from future reoffending. And, I didn't have a really big opinion of it. Like, I think there was, I don't know, she didn't show me a lot of empathy and compassion that day. And so she sent me off to the Darrick Boys Home, and Darrick Boys Home was for kids under 16 years old. And so, I got to Darrick, and I was, a lot of boys in my area from there, met from Mount Druitt, and I was like, and they were somber. They were very somber at best. And I later found out there was like prolific sexual abuse going on. Now, I'm pretty confident, what I did see there was a lot of men coming and going in these dormitories at night time that didn't work there. So, I had with the benefit of hindsight, I think there was a bit more, something a little bit more evil for that place than just,
So people that weren't working in the prison were coming in at night, having their way with the children.
Yeah.
And the guards were having a part of it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know what it was like. I don't, and the Royal Commission, I'll further on that the Royal Commission they had, I don't think they really touched base. And it was on how prolific it was there, but it took 60 minutes to get involved in that, about that place, for anyone to ever get charged. As soon as they got charged, 60 minutes ran a story, 3 people got charged within a week after it. So, anyway, long story short, I was sexually abused when I was there. About third night in, I was laying in bed, some bloke grabbed me out of the bed and took me to what's called an ablutions block and sexually abused me. you try to talk to the other kids about it. They didn't want to talk about it because it happened. I don't think anyone escaped it. I think it was sort of a rite of passage type stuff that took place there, you know. And I did mention there was an old woman there, like they had these old matrons that come and done the clothes and give you your clothing, and, you know, and you handed your dirty clothing and you got new clothing to wear. And I remember saying something to her because I thought she was really friendly, and she just told me to go away and stop telling lies, you know. So I think they were compliant in the abuse. And, you know, and whilst I was there, I done an apprenticeship. You know, the inner city kids from Sydney were really far advanced with their way of, you know, they were stealing Porsches and, you know, they just give me a blow by blow how to steal a Porsche, and I end up getting out of there. I could steal a Porsche in 40 seconds, you know.
So the deterrent of sending you to a boys' detention or whatever you call it, in fact, accelerated your career.
Escalated without a doubt.
Exponentially.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I learned about all different crimes, and these kids were living these exciting lives where, you know, they lived in the inner city. They'd pull up out front of a sports store, smash the windows and run in and get all the sports clothes, load a car up and drive away and get in a chase. And so I'd done a bit of an apprenticeship there, and, you know, and people think, oh, you know, it wasn't a sexual abuse doesn't cure kids from reoffending. I don't think, you know what I mean? I don't think that's the cure. And I think a deterrent, what it does, it creates a bigger hatred for the system because they were a part of that abuse.
I was going to say that, like, you probably got out of there being more angry than when you went in because of what you've had to endure.
100% I did. And I had a thing that, well, it was when I'd say, I'm going to stick my finger up and I'm going to show you. And, you know, and I got out, you know, and I got out of Durrick and, but I had a void and I started, so I was never, my dad died of emphysema. Well, my dad got really sick with emphysema. If anyone's ever seen anyone with emphysema, it's a pretty horrific.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah. Well, my dad had emphysema, so I was never a cigarette smoker per se. And all my other mates were smoking pot when I went away, and it just never appealed to me because of the smoking aspect to it. I got out of there and I had a void. And, you know.
So how old were you when you got out of there?
I turned 16 when I was there.
Right. Okay.
So I turned 16 when I was there, and then I started smoking a lot of pot and taking a bit of speed, and then going and catching a train and going into the city with all the kids that I met in the boys' homes and just having a wow of the time, stealing Porsches, getting in police chases, going to all the rural affluent areas around the eastern suburbs of Sydney and the northern beaches, and stealing a Porsche and getting all this and breaking into sports stores. And I just thought, mate, from a kid from Mount Druitt, I just thought I was alive. You know, really, that was that action that I always sought out. I got to go. And then one time, the dream car back then was a 1982 930 twin turbo Porsche, and I found one up at, and then things, even in today's standard, are like on par with the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris and that sort of stuff. So
that would have been pretty hard to steal, though, wouldn't they? Like,
oh no, so easy. So easy. I could steal one of them in 45 seconds.
Wow. Holy hell.
That easy to start. One of them things is that easy to start. So, 40 seconds, man, if you didn't have one of them things started in 40 seconds, mate, you were a fucking roadhead goal.
So you're walking past his Porsche. You look
around, like, you don't know the car. We're driving around, we spot it, and here it is on Whale Beach Road, which is a real affluent area, like movie stars and that live up there. And it's, anyway, so I spotted that one, gunmetal grey one, and off I went. I got it. My mate, I drove around the corner, my mate jumped in it with me, and off we went. And we got in it. It was the first time ever in Australia where the police used a Polair to chase anyone in a car chase, and it just happened to be on us. So it was a first for anyone. And because of the amount, at the time, there was a lot of kids escaping from the boys' homes and stealing Porsches and pulling up out front of certain police stations and revving the car up and inviting the coppers to come out and chase them. And so, they brought in the helicopters to catch them. And, it was the first of it. So we got in this chase, and anyway, I ended up down some dead-end street, and then and they blocked us in, so we had to run. We had to jump in the Sydney Harbour trying to swim away. It was actually the water police that caught us. So we went before the Bajura Children's Court the next day, and we went before a magistrate, and we had that's why I really developed a really distrust for lawyers out of this. And So he never, like he just said, I plead guilty, and you'll get 3 to 6 months. You will have to go to Mount Penang, which is a boys' home for over 16-year-old kids who ended up in the Central Coast. And he never mentioned anything about us going to prison. And the judge said, okay, Stan, I plead guilty. I'm going to sentence you. So I'm going to sentence you to 12 months in prison. And he said he stipulated that it has to be served in an adult prison. And once again,
can you do that?
No, he couldn't do it. He was out of jurisdiction to do it. And that lawyer was that hopeless. The lawyer should have reminded him it wasn't his jurisdiction to do it. There is a way you can do it, but I later found out, and he broke every rule of law to send us there that day. And look, I understand. Your car's been stolen. You're pretty dirty about it, and that sort of thing. But I think what had happened, and he made that a class crime. He said, how dare boys from Mount Druitt come to these affluent areas and steal, fucking prestige cars from these areas and just stick your finger up the law. He said, I'll send you to 12 months in prison. And he said, no, it'll once again a deterrent sentencing. And off we went. And I just thought to myself, we're going to Mount Penang boys home. He's just trying to scare us and that sort of stuff. Anyway, we went in a bull wagon. We're heading out to Long Bay. And I'm saying, this ain't the way to Gosford to my friend. I said, where? And he goes, then we pulled up at the gates of Long Bay. And I said, we're going to jail here. We're going to jail. And now heart's sinking.
Were you shit scared at that point?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Like really, really scared. Like 16-year-old kids ain't built for adult jails.
No.
Where they were sending us. And so we got in there, strip search. First time in my life like I'd ever been strip searched, and having full-grown men sort of humiliate us and laugh at us and telling us to pull our bum cheeks apart, and sort of seem to get some sort of sick joy out of our despair and fear.
Brown
Park.
Big thanks to our ongoing sponsor of the podcast, Grow Clinics. Now, there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution to hair loss, and you may want to stop your hair from falling out, restore what you've lost, or just keep what you've got healthy, because there's different levels of it. Grow offers all the most effective, scientifically tried and tested hair loss treatments that's been perfected by their team of experts to deliver leading results no matter the stage of your hair loss. They can help.
If you want to go check out their socials at Grow Clinics, they're on Instagram, so GRO Clinics. Have a look at what everyone's doing, because you'll see genuine, real-world results on their social media.
Absolutely. Or you can just look at us before and afters.
And look at us, Fabios.
The other thing you should do on their website is take the Grow quiz and answer 3 simple questions, and then they can match you with the most suitable hair loss solution. After that, you can have a bit of a chat with an expert, if you wanted to go through the process of what's involved and how you will look after you've had the hairline done. So get your hair goals going with ongoing support from their team of specialists. And if you're not sure what kind of solution is right for you, head onto their website, growclinics.com.au.
The
Brown Podcast.
Can I ask a quick question, though? Like, this is your second offence. So you'd stolen one car, gone to jail, come out, stolen another car, been caught for it, obviously. I mean, there's obviously other crimes in there, but you weren't caught for that. So you were really just jailed for the car theft.
12 months.
12 months. And back then there was remission, so you served 8 months. But still, it was a pretty hefty sentence for, a 16-year-old kid on his second offence. And and we went through this process, and anyway, so we got they put us in the biggest, baggiest clothes they could find us, and the officers were really thinking it was funny, about some kid and like obviously traumatized, and they seemed to be getting some joy out of it. They walked me up to a cell first, and out front of the cell it goes, it has a prison, it'll have a card and it'll say the prisoner's name, and it'll say his sentence. It'll go, it'll be Johnson, it'll say the sentence was like 9 years, and then we'll go Smith, sentence 6 years, but it doesn't say what you're in for anyway. So they put me in there, and they had put a mattress on the floor, and there was a bunk bed, and the officer closed the door and said to them, words to the effect of, have some fun, boys, or something like that. And I said, what the fuck's he talking about? And, so yeah, he said, yeah, get comfortable, what do you want? And he said, oh, we seen you guys on it, because that was apparently on the news, and that about us getting pinched. And then I just looked up, and here's this bloke who's like got a sheet over himself, but he's fucking masturbating, and then they both just put it on me. They said, this is going to go down the easy way or the hard way, mate. So you're going to do this, this, and this. or we'll just fucking bat out. Once again, sexually abused. And like 2 full-grown men who I later found out were 2 convicted pedophiles.
What? So they put you in with pedophiles?
It was in with pedophiles. They put us in with pedophiles for our own protection.
How does that work?
Yeah, for our own protection now. So they housed us in one wing at the Central Industrial Prison with the worst degenerates in Australia at the time. So they were the worst. They were the worst sex offenders in Australia at the time. Like, they just, back then, in the New South Wales jail, there was a wing that had about 90 of them. So they're the worst child sex offenders, rapists, a couple of necrophiliacs, people who had dead bodies, corrupt cops and corrupt were housed in there for their own protection. So they put, I was like shooting fucking steak to lions.
Would you have been better off going into the general population?
100%, way better, safer. And we had blokes from our area, well-known, pretty heavy guys from our area, Mount Druitt, that would have looked after us, that would have made sure nothing would have happened to us, I mean, one of those cases, where you're from, there's a bunch of them blokes here, and would have been sweet, would have been fine. And, and we were failed by, the lawyer should have said to the judge, you can't do this. And the lawyer should have contacted child safety and said, hey, these kids are at imminent danger of being sexually abused. And it really, from that, they developed a real distrust of lawyers. Like, that lawyer just should have been sacked for not acting. So we were housed, we were just housed there. And my cellmate, my mate he came out the next day and, he was in tears too. Like, he just was broken from it,
So so many questions, but how do you mentally get through that? Because you realise that happens night one. You're going to be here for the time.
Once was yet to come. Like, the next day, I come down, like, you got this, like, it's a 2-story, like, building with the cells are all exposed out to the elements, right? So we come down the next day into the yard, and there's this little hunchback bloke with the little dark glasses on, who was one of Australia's worst necrophiliac, and he just took a shine to me, and he goes, and just that real stereotypical degenerate, the dark glasses, the hunchback, and he just, I don't know, he got sort of the heavier ones to sort of say, tell him to go around. So I went to sell, and he produced a syringe. Now, the syringe was a cut down way it had been burnt and he goes, this is going to make you feel better and have it. Now, I would have cut my fucking toe off to feel better. And, and he injected me with what I now know to be heroin. And I started vomiting, and I was on my knees as a reaction to the heroin. And he sexually abused me while I was vomiting into the toilet. And this is Australia's worst degenerate. How would you have let him near your dog, or like a 50-kilo blonde-headed blue-eyed kid,
The system has repeatedly failed you.
Yeah, but you know what? You still get people go, well, if you didn't commit the crime, you would have that. Yeah, well, you know what I mean? That kids do that, and you don't sexually abuse kids to teach them.
Yeah. No, well, that's it.
Right away from that, I think, we can't even take that attitude towards children, or otherwise pedophiles are the cure for fucking troubled children.
Which is ridiculous. This is probably jumping way forward, but is it different now?
I don't know. I don't know. It scares me. It frightens me, and it puts a lot of fear. It gives me a lot of flashbacks when I'm hearing about these kids being sent to adult jails. I don't see that. I don't see how it works. I don't see. Like, them jails are built for adults, right? They're not built for kids. They're kids' minds, they've developed enough to handle those conditions and that isolation.
What would have been the best or the most appropriate punishment that may have deterred you from continuing on at that point? Was there anything? Or you reckon that you're already on the track?
They had a couple type scared, type straight. Well, they didn't need to send me to jail. They could have took me on these tours where they were taking kids into Parramatta jail and the prisoners were telling them what it's all about. I think I would have been more, I don't know, I think I would have been, that would have worked a lot better on me going to lived experience. Like, coppers coming around with clipboards going, if you commit crimes, it's punishable by 6 months penal servitude. I've never listened to them kind of guys, because they were silent blokes that were fucking in my area bashing kids and sort of stuff. Like, they weren't, I don't know, they weren't interactive with the kids or anything like that, so I wouldn't listen to too much of cop. I said, but if it was like a cream coming in and saying, "Hey, man, this is a shit life. I spent 20 years of my life here." I think that would have been something that would have had a bigger pressure on me not to do it. And the experienced type person. These are the reasons why you do. Not because it's a crime, because you'll end up very fucking sad, very lonely. You're going to hurt the shit out of your family. You're going to be disappointed. You're going to have so many regrets. You're going to waste your life, and you're going to end up on the bones of your ass with nothing in life. I don't know. I think I would have been someone like that. Someone talking to me like that would have got through to me a lot better. And I try to do a lot of that sort of stuff myself today.
So that was jail stint number 2.
Yeah. And then what happened was after that, I got that taste of heroin. I got a couple of tastes of heroin while I was there. And those sort of guys they tell you where you go to Cabramatta and this is the process. So, man, I had a void, man. I was pretty twisted. I was, I now know what I was suffering. I was suffering severe trauma. And trauma's, can create reactive behaviors there's, you can end up being super duper violent as a reaction to it. You can self-harm, or you can, drug addiction and self-sabotage, and I chose the drug addiction self-sabotage route. And, I got out, first day out of there, I went to Cabramatta and I self-medicated myself, and I did that for a long time before I made so, I got to address it, and the heroin would when I'd have a shot of heroin, I wouldn't feel any of that stuff. It would just dissipate, you know what I mean? And that was the thing that cured it. And then I lived with the nightmare of running out of heroin and having to go through that nightmare of the abuse itself.
Yeah. So did you end up back in jail for another stint at some point?
Yeah, well, within 18 months I was back in jail, but this time I got pinched for 6 break-in enters. I broke into what's the equivalent of David Jones. Now, it used to be a place that used to be called Grace Brothers.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So I broke into there, and we used to break in there when there were, overnight time, and grab all the VHS recorders and watches and everything like that. Mm. So I got pinched for about 4 break-in enters. At this time I got sent to an adult mainstream prison, and it was none of the sexual abuse. There was none, and in fact, it was really frowned upon. Like, I remember one bloke even going to talk to him, one of the now drill blokes, like a pit bull, just grabbed him and said, "You fucking stay away from these kids." And I mate goes, "Oh, I'm just going to say hello to him." And go, "Yeah, well, you just fucking stay away. You don't need to be talking to him." But I gravitated to the bank robbers. Prison's a funny place. Like, the bank robbers hang together, they all talk together, train together. The drug smugglers hang together, all train together. The car thieves hang together and talk together and play chess or whatever, and the people who do. So, I used to be so fascinated by blokes that were doing armoured vans, and they were sort of like the rock stars of prison, and I just really wanted to, and I went there with intentions of being a bank robber. I had no intentions, none of these. I ended up getting 11 years for that. So four break-ins, I ended up getting 11 years on a parole period of 4 years, in which you do, because there was a remission back then, you do like about 2 years, 8 months for good behaviour.
How old are you then?
I just turned 18.
Jesus. Yep.
7 years on parole period of 4 years, and he gave me 4 years accumulated to 7 years for carrying a screwdriver.
Oh, yeah.
The screwdriver, I'm like, fuck, wow. They were just weird, mate. Back then, they would just whack and pack, and so yeah, and that's what I did. I gravitated to bank robbers, and I ended up in Goulburn prison. And I can remember talking to an old guy. He's an old farmer who'd become a bank robber later in life. I think he lost his farm to the banks, and he just went and squared up on them and robbed a heap of them. And he knew his way around a gun, and he was notorious. Had this thing. It was like, it was in the newspaper. It was that the thing on his gun sleeve said, "Have gun, will travel," and it made the newspapers. But he was a really nice old guy, and he was honest enough to say to me, when I said to him, I said, "Ray," his name was Ray Johnson, he's since passed away, God rest his soul. And I said, "Ray, what do I do about," I can remember where I was sitting next to B Wing at Goulburn in 1988, it was the middle of winter, and I said, "Mate, those bags, what's your recommendation?" He goes, "Well, son," he goes, "Well, you just get a job on the council." And I said, "Use the council truck and to do surveillance?" He goes, "No, you just don't fucking do it," because it's a lonely old life of a bank robber. He goes, "It's a very, very lonely old life of a bank robber." And those words echoed in my ears in so many years. It wouldn't be many days that goes past. I'm laying in my bed overnight, night time in a prison cell. Oh, he was so right. If only I'd.
Yeah.
But, when I got out, and it's funny because I had the guy, in part of your parole conditions are, you're not allowed to associate with any other criminals, right? But you go to do your parole meeting, there's 10 criminals that you know from jail. Defeats the purpose, yeah?
Yeah. And you're going back to Mount Druitt, I see him.
No, that's my mother was living at Liverpool in Sydney.
Okay.
So, when another move to Liverpool, I sort of kept me out of trouble, God bless her. But, it was just what I was just parked me right near a car. I lived right next to the biggest car park in Liverpool.
So is that like a mouse to cheese?
Yeah. It was like I don't know, a cheese factory. Yeah, I was like that. But and then I bumped into my mate who was here today. He just got out after 21 years. He just done 21 years straight for bank robberies, and I bumped into him. I saw him back, and he goes, "Yeah." He goes, I said, "Yeah." And I was always told by the bank robbers, good bank robbers will run in on their own. So I only just want you to drive the car. I'll want to run in, And we went around, couldn't get it going, so I went and got a big fucking knife from the Salvation. It cost $4, and I was better than crypto because we got about 17,000 on the return. We done like a $4.80 investment on the knife and got like a $17,000 return. So I ran into the bank and robbed the bank the first time. And the good bank robbers will be honest with you, like they'll say, mate, the objective is not to go in there and traumatize people, just fucking keep everyone calm. And I did. My first one, I was pretty professional. I said, I made one fundamental error. But I said, look, I'm not here to hurt anyone. I'm just going to get this money. I'm going to get out. I don't want to hurt. Let's have a nice day and get this done. And all the bank robbers said, never let them take the money out the top drawer because they'll spread it out and it'll look like heaps. And when you haven't seen a lot of money for the first time in your life, it'll look like a gigantic. But I'll let them do it. And they did that. I said, what you do is you go over and there's a bottom cupboard underneath the drawer with all the big notes in it. And I didn't do it. But, I got $18,000 and I thought that was $1 million at the time. Mind you could buy a house in Mount Druitt for $25,000 at that stage. So quarters of the way there, or 2/3 of the way there. But, and I'd done it. And the funny story is him and I were talking about it today. And so the first thing you do after you rob a bank is you go and buy drugs. And the second thing is you go and buy shoes, I could take you to the biggest shoe collector, still shoe collector today. But we parked the car at Liverpool. Over reversing in the car, all these cop cars are turning up. And we're going, there's floaters here. And I put my hands on the steering wheel so I didn't get shot. And I'm just waiting. So when they come and rip us out of the car, and then they just start running past us. Where we parked the car, a bank had just been robbed. Like, just as we pulled up, someone had just robbed another bank. And they were running into the bank. Yeah. They were proud. They run it past us, and we just thought, all our Christmases come at once. Went and bought our shoes, and then my mate just said, doubled him. He said, I don't want to do any more. And he said, I'm going back to work. He said, you just can't, he said, what I learned, he said, you push your luck with them things, you'll end up getting pinched. And I ended up, doing a few more, in which I ended up getting apprehended for, for 5 more. And one day they just turned up, and a cop turned up and pulled a gun on me and just fucking bang it. Man, that's when I was seeing real gangsters for the first time in my life. Them are my hold-up squad blokes. They were gangsters.
I'll be buggered.
They were. I was like, as I said, the tail end of Roger Rogerson and his crew. And they were just the biggest crooks you'd ever come across. And the first thing they said, where's your money? And I said, what money? They said, we know you got money. And they had some pretty good intel. They said, you got about 30 or 40 grand somewhere. So we went back to my joint and had a nice joint and like a gated complex that had tennis courts, swimming pools, and everything. I was really living large and a long way from Mount Druitt, I might add. And, and they're looking through and I seen old mate in my roofing duct and he said, where is it? I said, up there. He found the money. He said, how much is it? I said, 30,000. They broke it up between them. And they said, there's your bail money. But, then they're trying on my clothes and fucking.
This is the police.
Yeah, this is the place. They're trying on my clothes. And I'm hold-up squad. Like, I've done, and later it come out in the Wood Royal Commission. That's what they used to do. They used to just rob people and stuff like that.
Rob the robbers.
Yeah, they robbed the robbers. And they just thought it was, fringe benefits of being in the hold-up squad or the drug squad or whatever. And they just spun me out how gangster they were, and took me to the police station, charged me with five robberies. I woke up the next day in a world of pain, withdrawing from a real serious heroin addiction. And I just had a void in me, like the nightmare was on, like Donkey Kong, and the trauma was there.
Can I just ask though? I mean, when you were robbing these banks, at any point, and I've always wanted to ask someone like yourself, was there any point where you went, okay, I've got enough. I'm going to stop now, buy myself a house, and maybe move on? Or
is it like an addiction?
Yeah,
addiction. I think. Look, I was never one of these guys that got off at being overpowering people or anything like that. Mine was sort of like saying, fuck you to the system. Like, you fucked me up, you know what I mean? And this is my little retribution. Well, I thought it was, I thought it was but in saying that, there was a lifestyle that went with that I've never had before. I could go in a clothes shop and didn't have to look at price tag and get one of every colour.
Yeah.
I could jump on a plane and fly. I used to do it all the time when my heroin habit was getting too far out. I remember the Ramada Hotel in Surfers Paradise used to be the fucking bomb, and go up there, book in there for 2 weeks, and then just go alone in the sun and eat in good restaurants and sort of replenish myself, and then go back and then bomb myself out again. I remember doing that. I remember impressing some pretty beautiful looking women up there as a young bloke and spending plenty on them, and at half time flying back to Sydney, robbing a bank, and then coming back up. It was a lifestyle I hadn't made, but I remember the SV 5000 Commodore came out and bought one cash. I mean, cash, pulling fucking wads of cash out of down my backs. And our mates going, where's that going? There's another 10,000, there's another 10,000. The grey nurse, the grey $100 bills, pulling out, 7 slabs of them to buy a brand new car. I can remember that, and it was just a lifestyle that I've never had before, never experienced it. I thought I was like sort of king. If I had the time again, I would have jumped on the plane and made a bank and then got out of here.
Brown.
I want to say thanks to our sponsor, Grow Clinics, for not only making us look fabulous with our lovely locks of hair.
Thank you.
But the other thing they're doing on their website at the moment is you can actually gain credit for a hair transplant while treating your hair loss.
So any money you spend on Grow Clinics products, whether it be the medication, the shampoos, or the products that help keep your hair healthy, any money you spend on them comes off any money you may spend on a hair transplant if you decide to head down that track.
Yeah, it's called Regrow. Now, the benefits of getting it started now, obviously they can tailor the hair loss prevention to stop further hair loss and thicken up what you've got. But then you can accrue Regrow credit. Now, 100% of every dollar spent accumulates credit for a hair transplant. And obviously, it's a very discreet online process if you're a little bit shy about getting it done.
It took me ages to actually get the courage up to go there in the first place. So
yeah.
It's nothing to be afraid of. We're talking about it now, which is a great thing, because dudes never really spoke about it before.
No. And you'd be surprised by the amount of guys that are getting it done.
So many now. And it's so good to see.
Growclinics.com.au, because hair growth is stronger with grow.
The Brown Podcast.
Was that the last time you went to jail, or was there more?
There was more. So, what happened? I ended up escaping from prison. I went to court one day and punching on with the coppers, and then I escaped and got pinched up in the Northern Territory. And there's that story of me. I robbed the ANZ Bank up in the Northern Territory, and then Northern Territory is a funny place. I'm from a big city, and I underestimated how small they were. Roadblocking the town were on the front.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go.
I didn't even realise. I didn't realise how small it was. I didn't do too well in geography at school. So, I just thought it was a big place. And long story short, I see my mate get dragged off a plane, and I was due to go on another plane. My plane was going via Brisbane, and at the time, he was an escapee from Bogger Road Prison. He was one of the 7 that went out the front gate of the jail in Bogger Road. So I jumped on a plane that was meant to be going via Brisbane, but I was waiting for my plane before he took off, but he got dragged off. Long story short, tripped myself. I thought they were going to grab me at the airport. I jumped on I drove all the way to a place called Mataranka, which is 400k south of Darwin. I jumped on a bus there, and overnight, we'll go to Alice Springs, and overnight, I changed my attire, and I bought an Akubra hat, and the I Love Australian t-shirt, and a pair of second-hand hiking boots, and tried to blend in like a fucking Swedish tourist, I thought. And so the next morning, I went to jump off the bus, and anyway, a bunch of coppers jumped all over me, and I'm saying, "What are you doing? Get off me!" I was putting on my best Swedish accent. I'm yelling at the sky. Being attacked. These coppers were thinking, "Fuck, we got a diplomatic incident here," and they were just second guessing themselves. And this old copper, Les Smith, came over, an old boxing trainer. He later told me, so I know who you are. And he said, "If you haven't got a tattoo on your right shoulder," he said, "you can go on your way." And he said, "If you've got a tattoo, your handcuffs are going on your Russell Manser." He lifted up and goes, shows over, handcuff him. And, we end up getting the biggest sentence ever handed out in the Northern Territory. I got 9 years on non-parole or 5 years up there because they had no parity sentences for robbers because no one but ever robbed them up there, And
can I just ask, when an escapee goes on the run, how are you living during that time? Because what's your end game? Do you think you're going to be on the run forever, or that at some point you're going to get?
You know you're going to get changed. Like I went back and robbed. I was on remand for robbing the National Australia Bank at Parramatta, and then the first time we took the gun off a security guard, and then he seen me walking up towards him, and he went, "Oh, fucking not again!" It was Christmas time, He said, and I stood there with him and kept guard with him while my mate jumped over the counter and said, "I'll lose my job over this." And I said, "Well, I'll give you a reference, mate. I'll just make sure you don't lose your job." And I've been really... And on the way, and as I left, he had a 32 Browning pistol. I handed it back to him. I said, "Merry Christmas." I don't know what the fuck I'd done that because he could have shot me. And he just looked at me in amazement as I'm running up the street. I was looking back, and he was just looking, I'm waiting for him to fucking let some shots go at us. He's just looking at it, and long story short, that's when we got away. But it's sort of around about we come back to getting pinched in Darwin. Big sentence there. Got brutalised up there. Like then the Darwin prison officers just felt like they had a point to prove with me, the city slicker, and they gave me a deal one day. They said, "We'll punch on with you one-on-one." I said, "Fuck them, with bells on." I was looking for any sort of action. And so I'd come in and they'd have this riot squad and I'd punch on with one of them sort of about 3 or 4 days a week. Win, lose or draw, and it was a fair fight. It was like fucking gypsy boxing, you know what I mean? So all each other out, and then we punch on, and then one day I just realised that they were getting too much joy out of it, and I refused to do it. I said, "I'm not doing this no more because you guys seem to be getting too much joy out of this," and I stopped. But the realisation out of that, there was a realisation out of that. Like I got this realisation that said, you know what, I put myself in this position. I mean, all this pain, I'm suffering out of it. And even back to the boys' home stuff, I took a lot of ownership, and I said, you know what, these people wouldn't have been able to do this sort of things if I didn't make these fucking choices, and it come back to choices,
Yep.
And I got clean. I chose to get clean. I chose to never use a drug again. And, and then, I went back to New South Wales. I got sentenced to 15 years for a non-parole period of 8 years. I ended up serving 8 years in total. And then I got out, and, that's what took me to the Gold Coast. I got a job at Cabarita Beach on the Northern Rivers there as a fitness instructor at a Japanese jockey school at the old Tony Roach fucking tennis school. And met the mother of my kids, and had 2 kids. I bought a house in Currumbin. I turned my life around. I had a successful telemarketing business, and then, but then the biggest mistake I made, I thought I could drink. And for me, it's total abstinence for me. I can't do anything. I can't have one tin can. I eat the whole packet. I can't have one roll of chocolate. I've got that personality where I just can't stop. So, and I started drinking, snorting coke, and then getting worse hangover, and then I back on the heroin, and then ended back up in jail. And it took me 10 years to turn it all around again because, and then I heard, then I was talking, and I say this, and people laugh at me and say, greatest Prime Minister ever, Julia Gillard, brought in the Royal Commission of Institutional Responses to Child Sexual Abuse, and it mostly cost her a job by doing it. And she created a platform for people like me to start to heal. And, and the last bank I robbed was the so-called network Coolangatta. I come out of there, I got tackled by a bunch of super citizens, and one of them was punching me in the back of the head saying, I just saved your life. And I couldn't say it at the time, but I later realised an incident took place, and I'll come back to it, where he did save my life, that guy. And, I went to prison. I had every intention of killing myself, had a plan. I made peace with it. I was sick of hurting my kids. I was sick of hurting my family. I was sick of just disappointing everyone, and in particular, disappointing myself. So I went to my cell that night, the first night there, and what I would have hung myself was a coaxial cable, and it had been vandalised. So it was, instead of being like that, it was like fucking like 3 inches, and it wouldn't have wrapped around my big toe, let alone my neck. And so I had to put the suicide attempt off for another night. And in between things, it's what I say to a lot of people that have that suicidal ideation is, mate, just put it off for one day and things will change.
Yeah.
Things will change, and I did, and things happen. Like a bloke come to my window, because in the cell there's like a 30 centimetre display window, so that the officers can have a look in you and check through to see if you're all right. Bloke come up to me who I always suspected of being a sex offender and offered me drugs, and I just, that part of me, I couldn't never take anything of those sort of people, let alone talk or associate them or acknowledge them. And he said, oh mate, I know you've never liked me, but here's a piece deal, I'll give you a shot. I'm being, I said, no matter how bad I ever felt, I could never take something off someone like you. And I said, and you want to stay away from me because I'm in the mood, I'll fucking kill you, get any fucking off. Then I went back into the unit that day, and there was a young fella there that had psych books out, and he was studying. I said, what are you studying? He said, I'm studying the best psych. He said, I took your advice all those years ago. And he said, and he looked me up and down with this study. Maybe you should take some of your own advice and then just go back to study. And I went,
well, so you gave this young fella some advice years ago, which you hadn't taken yourself, and he's all of a sudden flipped you on your head.
Doing well. The ironic thing was, I got a TV, coaxial cable and that for my cell that night. The first thing when I picked the TV on, the first thing that came on was a 7:30 report talking about the Royal Commission on Institutional Responses to Child Sexual Abuse. So this period of like 24 hours was just massive for me. I knocked back a shot from a person I didn't like. So morally and ethically, I felt I had something left. I'd give a bit of advice to a young fella that changed the trajectory of his life. He was studying and everybody, my mate was going to give me a good sentence. And here's this Royal Commission staring at me going, tell your story and start your healing. I rang my friend and got the address. I wrote just a full cap page, and it's like one of those things about writing stuff and then burning it and letting it go. Yeah. That sort of thing. But I wrote it, what had happened to me, just a one page, not all the details, and this is what happened here, it happened there. And then I posted it, and I thought nothing of it. And then 2 weeks later, I get called for these legal visits. And when you get a legal visit in jail, you'd think if the cop is trying to charge you with new charges.
Yeah, nothing good's coming from that, yeah.
And they're sort of like, who are they? And they say, it's the Royal Commission. I said, Royal Commission of what? They're saying, and they told me, and I said, so I went in and spoke to them. And man, that day was just epic for me. It was the beginning of a long healing journey. It was the opportunity because, I told my story and then, and I was offered trauma counselling straight away. And any time I spoke to them people, I got trauma counselling. Then we got ongoing trauma counsellor weekly and then fortnightly and then monthly for 4 years. And it really helped me. And then I just realised at that point in time that, I had this ability to articulate that. It just become natural for me. It was like every time I told my story of abuse, I felt better. I felt like the weight was off my shoulders. And then had an incident take place. So when you're in a prison yard, then there's 2 phones, right? And everyone, I can hear Johnny's fucking son kick fucking 3 goals at soccer last week, and Fred's fucking daughter's going really gilt at ballet and that sort of thing. So everyone knows what people are talking about. Well, I'm on the phone and I could see, I've been in jail long enough to know when people are talking about what's going on and they're talking behind your back and everything. But so I picked up the vibe that these 2 young blokes were telling people I was up to no good on that phone. So I had to call a yard man. So I called 60 blokes together and I said, listen, I'm on that phone and I'm talking about abuse that happened to me, and as a child in boys' homes and I don't want to be. I said, you've got this nice guys here, but I don't want to be around you for the rest of my life. And if I don't start talking about this stuff and I don't start healing from it, I'm going to be around you. We're going to grow old together, and I don't want to do that. I want to wake up with a pool and you guys some of you thinkers are women, but maybe not. But, you know what? And you know what? And man, these 65 blokes clapped me. And even a prison officer was in that yard because they've got to be in the yard to make sure you're not planning to do it right. And he just clapped me and he goes, mate, and the prison officer said to me, that was very brave of you to do what you just did. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting all these blokes calling. Like, if someone calls you, you get a note, right? They've got this note system there. I'd say, get this note. Bloke would say, come out in the Oval. And I walk out in the Oval. Bloke's got steel cap boots on. There's an indicator there's going to be a fight.
Mm.
I go over and he'd go, mate, I want to, and he'd shake my hand and go, mate, I've got to talk about what happened to me. And I go, what happened to you? And they start telling me about what happened to them. And he goes, how do I begin this process? I started being an ambassador for the Royal Commission and encouraging people to tell their stories. And, you know, and I become, and, you know, by the time I left that jail, 65 blokes I'd helped in my past to help them go to the Royal Commission. I sat down and I become a quasi type counsellor type thing. You know, and then I got moved to New South Wales, and then I had 2 weeks to go, and the cops turned up with six old bank robberies for me. I was going to parole, I had done all rehab. I was 4 years clean. I had a plan to go and start up this business, and I turned up with you know. But I also had a compensation claim for what had happened to me, and so what had happened was, you know, I could afford with those charges. I was in a position where I was going to use the money that I was given.
To just indecisive
for lawyers, you know what I mean? So we're back to square one, but, you know, I've done a lot of work on myself in that period of time, a lot of trauma counselling, and, you know, and I assisted a lot of others, and I realised what my passion in life was. My passion was being assistance to other people, and that's the game changer for me in my life today. So eventually I got out on bail, I went to rehab. I finished the rehab program. They offered me the job as the general manager, willing to throw in a Corolla. So when you know,
company car,
you know,
so a car you didn't have to steal.
Yeah, I didn't have to steal, and you know,
you drive it like you stole it, but you know,
and that's been. But my life changed, and you know, I got out of the rehab, and I was because I still had court pending, and I was in an outreach program back to rehab, which. I had to go back there once a week, but I started the Voice of a Survivor on kitchen, like outdoor table setting, and I started that, and it just took off. You know, I'd be like, because what happens? Someone comes to me, they tell me about what I'm having, I interview them, I transcribe it, and then I hand that to the lawyers. I'll refer them off to a lawyer, and the lawyer takes over their case, with no pay, and helps them get, you know, well. You want to get an apology letter from the institution, and then you want to sort of talk about getting sort of money so you can afford proper counselling, or you can, you know what I mean, you can create a life or afford to put yourself in a rehab or whatever. Today, I employ 22 people. I've got 17,000 clients. I work with 42 different law firms, national. And you know, that's been a long road, man. But you know, I've done some real, like, someone was saying to me the other day, you know, about jail, and I said, sometimes I question if it actually did happen to me, or was it a dream, or I've been out 6 years in July, and I've created all these good memories, but the basis of that is universal, right? And universal look after you when you're doing good things.
Yeah.
When you give more than you take, the universal look after you, and that's the basis of my life. On a daily basis, my intentions are give without expecting anything in return.
So you've been out 6 years.
6 years in July, yeah.
How do you scratch the itch that you used to have for getting in trouble and for having that adrenaline rush? How do you cope with that now so that you don't end back where you were?
I don't have it. I don't have the need, because that sort of that need that I had has been placed by the need to help others.
I think that comes with fulfillment. Living a purposeful life, I think.
Yeah, and I've got a purpose, and I'm passionate about my purpose. And this is this whole thing, what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about getting people to talk about this thing. Like, I say this, you know, a perpetrator's greatest weapons is victim silence and shame, yeah?
Yeah, I love that. I've heard you say that before.
Yeah.
That really needs to have a bit more light shone on it.
Yeah. You know, and I talk about, you know, I talk about something that I carried. I carried a backpack, and if you picture a backpack with a different meaning, like a brick with shame on it, a brick with burn on it, a brick with embarrassment, that backpack becomes extremely heavy to carry throughout your life. Yeah. But by telling your story and getting rid of the embarrassment and shame out of the abuse itself, you're catapulting it back at the perpetrator himself and saying, hey, man, this fucking bag belongs to you. I've been carrying your shit for a long time.
Before we let you go, just what advice would you give your 16-year-old self?
I get asked this a bit. I would, like, you know, I'll tell you one thing about what's happened to me, and it's when you're an abuse survivor, you lack self-belief, self-love, and everything like that. It is a real simple answer: love yourself. If you love yourself, you believe in yourself, and when you got that self-belief, nothing's going to stop you. Only you. It's you against you.
Mate, congratulations on turning your life around and doing some positivity. Doing that
others now.
But you know what I mean?
Helping others now.
Helping others.
Not going too bad from the boy from the drawer.
So, yeah, look, mate, again, people like you that are willing to share their story makes what we do that much more rewarding. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you for allowing me to tell my story, and hopefully it can touch someone and change someone's lives, because that's the aim of the game.
Brown Pop.
So I definitely don't want to go to jail.
L's to the no.
No. And I'm glad that he's using his voice to speak up about what's happened to him in the past.
That's
and obviously
to carry for so long.
Oh, and you can still see that it's there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Even though he's doing the work and he's helping others, you can see that there was a trauma.
100%. But like you say, he's trying to help other people now get through their traumatic experience going through the correctional system.
Legend. If you want to check him out, all the details are in the show notes of this podcast. As always, you can find us on socials, brownpark_, or go to our website, brownpark.com.au, because we have merch for winter.
We have some great hoodies that are super warm, so get in now before they're all gone.
Yep, make sure you do that. And we will see you next time.
Catch you later.
The Brown Pop Podcast.